Happy weekend, everyone. This is me, Chantay. I am here with another weekend review. Today's news is crazy, but before I get to that, I have to cover COVID. So for those who are just coming on, you can watch the replay or you can tune in. I also will have this on my Instagram. No, it's already on Instagram. I will have this on my YouTube page and some clips on Twitter here and there. So I just want to get started with numbers for COVID because we're still in the midst of a global pandemic that's happening. And same to you, Zach. Happy Friday. What's up, Doc? Doc in the building. I saw your video. You took us all to church, so thank you, madam. And hello to everyone on here. Hello, Kay, the nurse on the live. So hello, ma'am. Oh, yeah. I heard that. Yes. So I'm just going to come with this COVID business news. Yeah, I'm about to get to that soon. Don't worry. Hang on tight. Because we're still in the midst of a global pandemic. So according to the Johns Hopkins website, we have how many cases? Globally, 542,897,046. The global death toll is 6,327,812. U.S. confirmed cases. We are 4.2% of the population, but have 25% of the cases. We're 86,909,716, and the death toll is 1,015,789. So again, global confirmed cases is over 542 million. Global death toll is 6.3 million, over 6.3 million to be exact. Confirmed cases here at home in the U.S. is 86,909,716, and the U.S. death toll is 1,015,789. And as for vaccination doses, we had 210,000 Americans that took their dose, so the exact number is 210,039. But we're still at 67% in terms of vaccinations, which I'm not surprised. In that account, that is exactly 221.9 million. We're not at the 70% that the president wants us to be at, and we're not at the 90% where the NIH and the CDC want us to be. So am I surprised at these numbers? No. But according to some areas, the white COVID death toll has gone up. So how many white people exactly died from COVID? So if you look at the color of COVID, they got it here, I believe. APM research. Let's see if they have the exact data that we want in terms of how many white people have died from COVID. Because I know it's a grave number. The highest mortality is still indigenous people, but I heard the highest is now white people now. Yeah, the number of death of white people is freaking going up. White people have the most death according to this KFF report that I'm seeing. Even though Native Americans are at high, well, white people are not a shy away from the death toll. So over 600,000 white people have died from COVID. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. After all, they're the same assholes that never wanted to get vaccinated first and foremost. Never wanted to get vaccinated. They listened to the bum, the former bum of the White House. And so that's what happened. They fucked around and find out. After many people, black people were dying in the early part of the COVID. Yeah, mostly a lot of white people died. A lot of white people have been dying from COVID. Between a lot of white people and a lot of... Well, the indigenous people is not their fault because of their governor, who was careless, which is Kristi Noem in South Dakota. How she had that big bicycle rally. Let that happen in her state. But, yeah, a lot of white people have died. But white people have fucked around and found out. That's what happens when you keep listening to the bum. And keep in mind, they're 57% of the population. That's why they are on this thing. And speaking of them, so Roe versus Wade has been overturned. As we all got our news alerts, where we got it from, everybody was obsessed with the phenomenon this past week. We knew this was coming. We didn't know which day in June was coming. But I prepared myself for always the worst. Yes, Chantay always wants to have a good time. But Chantay lives in reality. Chantay lives in a motherfucking reality. So, with that being said, the Roe v. Wade decision here it is. No, those are protesters. I don't want to read about no goddamn protesters. Part of the reason why we in this goddamn mess. According to NPR, an historical and far-reaching decision, the U.S. Supreme Court officially reversed Roe v. Wade Friday, declaring that the constitutional right to abortion upheld for nearly a half a century no longer exists. Writing from the court majority, Justice Samuel Alito said that the 1973 ruling and repeated subsequent high court decisions reframing Roe must be overruled because they were egregiously wrong. According to him, he used the word egregiously wrong. The arguments exceptionally weak and so damaging that they amounted to abuse of judicial authority. Says who? The decision of which was leaked in early May means that the abortion rights will be rolled back in nearly half of the states immediately, with more restrictions likely to follow. For all practical purposes, abortion will not be available in large swaths of the country. The decision may well mean, too, that the court itself, as well as the abortion question, will become a focal point in the upcoming fall elections and in the fall and thereafter. Joining Alito's opinion were Justice Clarence Thomas, appointed by the first President Bush, and 3 Trump appointees, Justice Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, aka Justice Split Ends. Chief Justice John Roberts, appointed by President George W. Bush, concurred in the judgment only and would have limited the decision to upholding the Mississippi law at issue in the case, which banned abortions after 15 weeks. Calling the decision a serious jolt to legal system, he said that both the majority and dissent displayed a relentless freedom from doubt on the legal issue that I cannot share. Dissenting were Justice Breyer, appointed by President Clinton, Justice Sotomayor, and Kagan, appointed by President Obama. Justice Breyer is still on the court until the end. But I'm going to get to that in my Time to Read segment. They said that the court means that young women today will come of age with fewer rights than the mothers and grandmothers. Indeed, they said the court's opinion means that from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no rights to speak of. A state cannot force her to bring a pregnancy to term, even the steepest personal and familial cost. With sorrow for this court, but more for the millions of American women who have today lost a fundamental constitutional right, we dissent, they wrote. And Alito's 78-page opinion, which has a 30-page appendix, seemingly leaves no authority uncited as support for propositions that were inherited right to privacy or personal autonomy in various provisions of the Constitution, and similarly, no evidence that the people's reliance on the court's abortion proceedings over the past half-century should matter. Alito pointed, for instance, to Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the 1992 decision that upheld the central holding of Roe was written by Justices Sandra O'Day, Anthony Kennedy, and David Soter, all Republican appointees to the court. Alito pointed to language in the Casey opinion that he conceded reliance interests that we were really implicated because contraception could prevent almost all unplanned pregnancies. In that, those that 1992 opinion went on to dismiss that they were arguing unrealistic because it refuses to face the fact that decades people have organized intimate relationships and made choices in reliance on the ability of abortion in the event of contraception should fail. Know exactly the concessions that Alito described. Not exactly what he described. It is usual for justices to cherry pick quotes, but not out of context and not for former colleagues who are still alive and privately not amused at all. In the end, though Alito's opinion has a larger objective, perhaps multiple objectives. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but what I do know is there are people that are celebrating this shit, like the Grand Insurrectionist Party, Justice Uncle Tom, Justice Ashy, Justice I Love the Conservatism, Bestiality, Long Dong, Clarence Thomas, celebrating his birthday, I believe his 75th, 76th birthday. Yeah, that one. Also dissented and incited that gay marriage is next. And possibly Brown versus Board of Ed. Which I'm not surprised. Are you? No. But I need to let this out about the two very far right men on the courts. We know the bums appointees are idiots. But I'm talking about the two oldest ones on the court. We're not talking about Justice Breyer, because Justice Breyer actually dissented and he's leaving at the end of this month. But the two oldest justices, Samuel Alito and Justice Willie Lynch. That's what we're going to call him. Justice Willie Lynch. Because he will sell his own out before he sell out his wife. And we all know that's true. So, Samuel Alito. Samuel Alito is 72 years old. 72. Clarence Thomas I was close. 74. The two oldest men on the court. The most far-right men on the court. The most hated men on the court. The ones that are very close to being the next Anton Scalia. Which they're destined to be. Which I don't understand why they're destined to be. Are 25% of the way this country thinks. That's the minority. Most of this country, at 70%, are left-leaning. Center-left or very left-leaning. And it has been trending this way for quite some time. More than 10 years, probably close to 15, 20 years. Is this country the best of the way they govern? Absolutely not. But we have made some progress along the way. But unfortunately today, Junior Scalia, which is Justice Samuel Alito, and Justice Willie Lynch wants to make decisions for all women in the United States. Justice Willie Lynch is just doing this so he can have more white women in this world to look like his unmoisturized wife. You know, he didn't say anything about the loving law, which I'm surprised. But then again, I'm not. Because that means that his marriage will be deemed as unconstitutional. And quiet as it kept, Miss Lapp's family, because that's her maiden name, don't really care for Justice Willie Lynch. Chantay, why are you calling him Justice Willie Lynch? Because he will sell out our own and he will kill his own before he killed the opposition. He is the person that Harriet Tubman will either leave behind or something else. Yeah, I said that. He will be the person to snitch. Like my good sis, Dr. Candace Rouser said, the second black person to be sitting on this court will be Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Justice Willie Lynch? No, he's not black. And the crazy part is, he succeeded in a historical seat by the first black Supreme Court justice. Democrats did that. Republicans, not y'all. We had a civil rights icon in that seat before Justice Willie Lynch was confirmed to take that seat. And Justice Willie Lynch is the opposite of Thurgood Marshall. Justice Thurgood Marshall actually cared about people and fought for people versus Justice Willie Lynch, who's doing everything to take the rights of people away. And not just only black people, even though he's supposed to be black, of women, the LGBTQ+. I mean, Justice Willie Lynch is just doing all kinds of crazy things. But the loving law, we don't know how he's going to think, but I don't think he's going to touch that because he loved Miss Lapp. Why are you saying her maiden name? Because that's her name. And Miss Lapp is about to testify to the 1-6 committee. So Miss Lapp is going to get Mr. Thomas in trouble. He's not going to be touched. Yes, he is, because he's black. He don't think he's black, but the Republican Party will remind you that you are black. So Justice Willie Lynch pretty much will go through some things. He will. And as I said time and time again, he is not for us, and he ain't biased. Get the acronyms together, because we used to wear the clothing line back in the day. If you were black, you had the shoes, you had the jeans. He's not for us biased. And he'll never be. And speaking of people that contribute to this thing, let's talk about the white women for a second. Oh. Because, you know, that's an interesting demographic. I got the stats here. Let me pull it up. It's always good to have supported documentation, right? Oh, yeah, that would be next, too. That would be next. That and marriage equality. And I'll drive everybody behind to the polls. So, according to the CNN exit poll back in 2016, white men, of course, voted for the bum at 62%. And voted for Hillary Clinton at 31%. Black men voted for Hillary Clinton at 82% and voted for the bum at 13%. Black women voted for Hillary Clinton at 94% and for the bum at 4%. Latino men voted for Hillary Clinton at 63% and 32% they voted for the bum. Latino women voted for Hillary Clinton at 69% and voted for the bum at 25%. And others voted for Hillary Clinton at 61% and voted for the bum at 31%. And then white women are the last people. Voted for Hillary Clinton at 43% and voted for the bum at 52%. So I am keen on the numbers at white women at 52%. Keep in mind they're 37%, I guess, of the population. And while black women is only like about 7% of the population, voted for Hillary Clinton at 94%. So, why am I making this clear distinction? Because in 2016, Hillary Clinton, who was the Democratic nominee, said time and time again that everything was on the line, the courts, and that included Roe versus Wade. The Republican Party has been concocting a plan to overturn Roe versus Wade since it became law of the land, since it was deemed constitutional, and that is almost 50 years ago. They were doing everything they can to limit women's reproductive rights. It started when I was a baby, back in the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, of course, when they reshaped our courts. Let's see, the Senate, when they gained power in the Senate back in 2015. The whole Tea Party movement, far-right extremism, which is still around. That's how you got the MAGA cult and the QAnon crazies. And then that bum came in, did a whole bunch of nonsense. Birth control was eliminated, part of the ACA type of package, even though the Supreme Court tried to overturn that and they failed. So the only thing they was able to do is Roe versus Wade. So I'm not surprised. But back to white women. This message is for you. In 2016, Hillary Clinton warned us what the Republican Party was going to do once that bum got in there. Instead of listening to her, you can see yourself voting for her. She was corrupt. Her emails. And you held your nose at the ballot box to vote for that bum at 50 to 53%. 53% pretty much. And because of your vote for that bum, he did a lot of damage. Not just messed up our relations, our foreign relations, over across the pond and overseas. Domestically, he attacked our fundamental rights to be who we are in this country. And now your vagina and your uterus is on lock. So all of this marching with the pink pussy hats and let's hold hands. I am strong. I'm invincible. I'm woman. Can go down the fucking drain. Because your demographic voted for that bum by 53%. And I thought you would learn, back in 2016. But then 4 years later, you voted for him at 55%. And then Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia now, at 57%. So do I trust your demographic? The majority of y'all? Hell no. And I never will. Until you change the way you vote. When you vote overwhelmingly for the Democratic Party, then we can have that conversation. Then I can slightly trust you, but not fully as an ally yet. You still got work to do. And that's all I'm saying. And to the not all white women crew, because, y'all do too much. If my message does not apply to you, I said this time and time again. If it doesn't apply, let it fly over your goddamn head. I am not attacking all white women. I'm attacking the majority. The majority that keeps voting for white supremacy and to maintain it instead of voting to save and preserve our democracy. So maybe you need to talk to your white sisters and don't check for this one. You don't want it. Because if you want it, I'll bring it to you. Tenfold. And to the high teps, the ones that wear the fake ass kente cloths and, the ones that project blackness. I am a foundational black American. I am B1. You guys are deterrents. And still being deterrents online. Calling black people shills and shit. Like that shit's gonna stick. Some of you guys are not even real. And if you're real, you're not that pretty. You're not that cute. And you're not that smart. Y'all keep listening to Tariq Nasheed taking all y'all money to build a school or build a museum. He gonna use that money to raise his white trash ass family. That's right. His little white mama, his little white mother-in-law, and his mixed breed family. And he needs to be careful too, because his marriage may be on the line too. I'm just saying. Keep it at 100. And to the progressives, the leftists, the Crystal Balls of the world, the Katie Hoppers of the world, the Susan Sarandons of the world, the Nina Turners of the world, and the Marion Williamsons, and the Brianna Grays of the world. Y'all are responsible too. Y'all need to foot this blame. Because y'all kept deterring people to vote for the Dem nominee. You knew your guy was not going to win the black voters. You knew that. So instead of acknowledging the fact that he lost, you guys decided to bust your vote and vote for Dr. Jill Stein. And because y'all did that, is the reason why we have this bump. And instead of learning from your mistake, you continue to cast blame on the Democratic Party as if they hurt your feelings. The last time I checked, nobody wasn't fucking y'all. Nobody ghost y'all. You ghost yourselves. And you kept talking shit about the voters. Calling people low information. That's what the fuck happened. That's what happened. And that's why nobody fucks with y'all. That's why Katie Harper lost her gig at the Rolling Stone magazine. Let's see, Crystal Ball lost her gig at The Hill. Brianna Gray has not been really hired anywhere. Marion Williamson is irrelevant, so as Susan Sarandon. You don't see her in no movies no more, not even on the Netflix made for TV stuff. And Dr. Jill Stein just ran away because we all knew she was a fraud and a liar and a grifter. So they foot this blame too. And for those who are attacking me about coming after them, I came after your queens. Because your queens were the one that was lying about, the Democratic Party and calling voters like me low information and shills. So you guys can go and eat a dick. And Gary Johnson, Evan, what's his name? McCullen, and it's somebody else. And Dr. Jill Stein. Y'all to blame for this too. Even though I put Dr. Jill Stein in the last thing, she's to blame for this too because y'all ran third party knowing that this man will do all harm to this country. And he did. So thank you, 3 of y'all. Y'all ruined it for us. Let me read some of y'all comments. Yep, they're clowns. Yes, Dr. C. They lie, spread misinformation. Yep, she's a doctor, Brittany. She's a doctor. Dr. Jill Stein. And thank you. And it's the caucasity. And that's another thing. I don't have the privilege to sit out an election. As pissed as I am about this primaries in my state, I can't sit out an election. I'm black and I'm a woman. I can't do that. Like if I do that, my rights as a black woman, will be gone forever. So I have to do everything to preserve my right in this country. So I can't sit out. I don't have the privilege. I'm sorry. I don't. That's the difference between those white women I named, including that ashy black one, versus me. Just saying. Yeah, Gary Johnson is a dumbass. Gary Johnson didn't even know that Aleppo was in Syria. That's how stupid he is. Maybe Dr. Kim put that money she stole to put... Listen, she spent that shit up. The way she was looking on Brianna Gray's podcast, she looked like she needed to take another bath and need to raise some funds and wash her face. To get a good facial, too. And it be in a sauna. Because she stinks. She smelled like old mold. That's what the fuck she smelled like. Shit. But in closing, we in some really crazy times. This is like times almost like worse than my parents' times. And I thought my parents' time was horrible, but here we are. We in some real shitty times, and the only thing we can do is vote. Yes, we need to have fun, we need to live our lives, but we need to be vigilant. Because one, it's still a goddamn pandemic out here. Two, we're facing, a war overseas. We have, gun laws being overturned, even though the Senate passed something today. The Second Amendment, people going to go out their minds. Roe versus Wade has been overturned. Something else is going to pop off too. So I am keeping my eyes and ears out there on the street. And so should you. Don't panic. You can have fun, but be vigilant in your surroundings. Yeah, she do need a facial. Dr. Jill Stein need a facial. Bad. It's not even funny. She needs a good bath, too. But until then, people, have a good night.